Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to a video that is really exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking. I am finally about to launch my own watch brand. After 5 years of talking about it and 12 months of doing it, I'm finally ready. Well, almost ready. I'll be ready in exactly 2 weeks' time, Saturday the 7th of October, and I would love it if you would click the link in the description of the video and sign up for the email newsletter list at justonemorewatch.com. You will soon be getting an email from me talking about the timing of the launch and some of the details of the watch. But of course not all of the details, because I have to keep the suspense going for another 2 weeks, don't I? So I'm not actually going to show you the watch today. I will show you some blurry design drawings and I might tease a few specs, and at the end I will tell you the all-important price tag. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey, the process, my experiences so far, the decisions I have taken to get to this stage, and what's involved in getting a watch brand off the ground from a standing start. Now, I say my watch brand, but really it's our watch brand, because I'm doing this with the help of a business partner, and it's a name you have heard many times on the channel over the last few years. My business partner is none other than Mr. P. Not Mr. X. I'm sure many of you thought I would go into business with Mr. X, and indeed we talked about it, but his annual watch budget dwarfs my annual income, so I'm just not sure if we could have found enough common ground. He has, however, seen a prototype of the watch and he approved. Mr. P is my good friend Stephen Parker. We met 3 years ago through watches when he came to my house to buy a watch from me. Indeed, this photo was taken on the day we met. I think he just wanted to prove that he had paid in full. We then traded many watches between us, we became good friends, and 12 months ago we became business partners. Now, Stephen has his own successful office equipment business here in Sydney, and he has warehousing facilities and logistics staff who will be helping with our brand. So last August we went to see an accountant and we formally became business partners, founded a company, issued 1 share each, and then sat down for numerous meetings to discuss our debut offering. Here's your first nugget of information. It's a dive watch. Of course it had to be a dive watch. We hope as many of you as possible buy one of these, so we wanted to appeal to as many of you as possible, and the most popular watch style, particularly among micro brands, is the dive watch. I have long been a fan of dive watches. I've been wearing them as dailies for decades, and they're just great all-rounders. You can pretty much do anything while you're wearing a dive watch. But I'm no artist and neither is Stephen. So the next thing we did was employ a designer, and not just any designer, but this man, Fred, the man who has designed some of your favorite micro brands such as Zelos, Borealis and Grupo Gamma. So we worked with Fred over a period of 5 months, September last year to January this year. We gave him an initial brief of what we were looking for. We sent him specs, dimensions, and a kind of mood board of elements that we wanted to incorporate. Here's your next nugget. It's a tool diver. It's a no-nonsense, ultra-legible diver without a single piece of polish anywhere on the case and bracelet, but one that still has enough sophistication to be worn as a daily. And you can see how we tweaked and massaged the design of the case even before we started working on the dial and hands. At this point, I also enlisted the help of a couple of brand owners who have become good friends. Kyle from Stratton and Signum Watches and Sergio from Dorenzo Watches. They gave me some really good advice both about the design and about the prototyping phase that was to come. So once we got final designs that we were happy with, we then took that design to several different factories to produce prototypes for us. Now, that ain't cheap. Prototypes cost a fortune, and I know there are still people out there who try and launch brands using only renders without actually making prototypes. Hey look, if you want to buy a watch based on renders alone, that's entirely up to you, but it probably isn't going to go so well in the long run. So we ended up getting 3 different sets of prototype made for us by 3 different factories, and it was fascinating to see what 3 different companies did with exactly the same brief, the same design, the same specifications. These are some of the factory renders. It was getting really exciting at this stage, early March this year, to see our design begin to come to life and to work on the tiny details like the direction of the brushing on every single surface. Plus there was a bit of horse trading with some of the factories who tried to steer us in certain directions. Sometimes we went with their suggestions, sometimes we had to push back and stick to our brief. We also began to experiment with colours, beyond the core colours that is. Some experiments were more successful than others. And at this stage we began to get sent photos of dials and bezel inserts, and then even videos of completed prototypes, and the excitement level went up another notch. Now some factories work quicker than others, but we ended up getting all of the prototypes back within about 10 days. The first set we got back were okay. They were from a factory I have quite a bit of experience with reviewing their watches. Good solid company, and they made us a good solid watch. Now the second factory was recommended by another micro brand owner here in Australia, and when their prototypes arrived, they weren't perfect, they actually got a few things wrong, but they were still better on wrist than the first set. Stephen and I were pretty pleased, but we were hanging out for the third set to come back, and when they arrived a week later, we were delighted. Factory number 3 had actually changed our design a little bit. They had altered the lug profile and they had made the watch slimmer than originally intended, all of which made it so much more wearable than the prototypes from either of the first 2 factories. They actually got in touch with us and said, hey, we can knock 0.5 mil off the thickness if you're interested, and we were like, yeah, please go for it. They helped make our design into the best possible end product, and that is exactly the type of production partner that you're looking to work with. Stephen and I also wore one prototype each for a week straight to get used to how the watches felt, how they wore, check them for comfort, etc. And we were really happy with their on-wrist experience. Having said that, the first set of protos weren't perfect. Here's your next nugget: colour, and lots of it. The colours weren't perfect. Factory 2 actually got the colours better than Factory 3, so we sent everything back to Factory 3, including the colours from Factory 2, and we got a second round of prototypes made up. Those have now arrived back in Sydney. There are a couple more tiny tweaks that we're going to make for production units, but overall they're fantastic. And that's what you'll be seeing in 14 days time. Those are the watches that we will be launching. So then, a business that is set up to succeed from the beginning, with a business partner that I trust, who knows his stuff and will make sure our products are delivered successfully. A patient design process using a well-respected designer, an array of prototypes to sample different factory options, all leading to a watch design that, whilst it perhaps doesn't rip up the rule book, it's a really, really solid first offering. This is such an important launch for me personally. I know that to an extent, my reputation is on the line with this watch. I have spent the last 6 years poking holes in other people's watches. I know there will be a queue of people waiting patiently to poke holes in mine. So, better to get it right first time. The better it's going to be for all of you who buy it and wear it, and the better it's going to be for me therefore as well. Now, I have my personal tick list of specs for micro divers. I'm sure all of you do too. And I made sure that this watch ticks every single one of those boxes, including the biggest box of all, the one marked value for money. The final nugget today that I will give you is the price. We want to offer a high quality automatic dive watch on a bracelet that ticks every box and does it all for less than $300 US. And so on the 7th of October, we will be launching a 4-week pre-order period where you can buy this mystery watch for $299 US plus postage. So you better check your bank balance, perhaps free up some cash by selling a few of those pieces you don't wear very often, and get ready. It's going to be bigger than the Moon Swatch. It's going to be bigger than the Thrifty Fathoms. Oh my God, can you imagine if it was? Can you imagine people sleeping outside of my house to buy a watch? Maybe that actually wouldn't be a great idea. Anyway, 14 days from now, we will open for pre-orders. So I am asking you to pay for the watch in advance, I appreciate that. We just have no idea how many people will want one. But I promise I will do my very best to deliver on time and keep all of you informed every single step of the way. And I also promise we will never sell the watch cheaper than the pre-order price. So if you put your trust and a little bit of your money into me, you will help make my dream a reality, you will help me launch my own watch brand, and you will be the first batch of people to receive their watches. And you'll get your watch at the cheapest possible price. I am buzzing just thinking about it. I can't wait to show you the watch on the 7th. I'm going to make that video a premiere, so I will be online to chat before, during and after the video. We will be launching a dedicated website to the brand on the 7th, but in the meantime, if you want to sign up to the Just One More Watch mailing list, all the information will be sent to you from there, I promise. This one clearly went on a bit longer than I thought it would, so let's end it here with me saying thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again on the 7th of October.